Welcome to Brothers of the Word, because, brother, you need the Word. And today I am speaking from the Word that God gave me. On yesterday afternoon, he spoke, I want you to speak about love. And the thing about it is, I didn't feel like speaking about love. I didn't want to speak about love. I didn't have a subject to talk about love. I didn't know whether to come from just God is love or come from Corinthians with all of the attributes of love, or I didn't know what to do or which way to go. And I didn't really feel in my gut, I didn't feel in my mind that I really wanted to talk about love. And my wife and I went out to eat at a restaurant last night, and when we got back on the way back, I told her, I said, I just want to get out and walk as soon as I get home. There's something about the air tonight. It's crisp, it's clean. But she said, but it's freezing. I said, yeah, I know it's freezing, but you may catch a cold. I said, no, I'm not going to catch a cold. I've done all 6 days of exercise this week. I'm not going to get sick at all. I feel great. The air is refreshing to me. It's not even cold, but there's something about it. I just have to get out and walk. So when we got home, I just left the house and I just began to walk. And I was asking God, Lord, I don't feel like preaching about love. It's not the subject I want to deal with. And I don't know. And God began to just deal with me about that. And I began to think, how do you love when you don't feel like loving? Have you all ever been in that situation? How do you love when you really don't feel like loving? There are sometimes you just feel like love. You feel like love. But there are other times you just don't feel like loving. And he then began to deal with me with Jesus' statement when he gave the two great commandments. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. And the second is like unto that great commandment, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And God just began to show me some things. He said the reason that so many people have difficulty loving is because they do not love themselves. Jesus says, love thy neighbor as thyself, but there is an inherent difficulty in truly, purely loving someone else when you do not love yourself. There are three levels of spirits or demonic oppression that's on people. There is the spirit or demon, what you call it doesn't really matter. The point is we have forces of things, whether they are biological and natural or whether they are spiritual, they affect us. There are three levels. The easiest level to deal with is when the spirit actually is just in you. Now you may say that doesn't sound like that's too easy to deal with. But from the professionals, those who specialize and train in deliverance ministry, they said the easiest spirit to deal with is when just a demon is just in a person. The second most difficult are generational curses. Because it's not only on you, but it was on your mama and your daddy and your grandmama and your granddaddy and your great-grandmama and your great-granddaddy and your cousins and your aunts and your aunties and your brothers and your sisters. It's not just you. The thing has gone down through generations. So it is a spirit, it is a pattern, it has evolved into habit that is multi-generational. And they said that is the second most difficult type of spirit to break. And the most difficult type to break is what's called the territorial spirit. Sometimes there's just a spirit over a whole city or a whole country. And you can walk into the place and there's this spirit of such and such, and it's just over the whole place. the territory is ruled by an oppressive and an evil spirit. And not only do you have that spirit over it, then you got all the other generational and individual stuff under that main territorial spirit. So the hardest and most difficult to deal with is the territorial spirit. But we're often faced most in the Christian arena with those first two. And in particular, I want to deal with love, but I want to deal with loving yourself. Because you cannot love others until you first love yourself. And that's why generational stuff is real. That's why when you go to the doctor, no matter what's wrong with you, they'll ask you, tell me your family history. Tell me, what age did your daddy live to? Did your daddy have this? Did your mama have? Does it run in your family? Now, the doctors do not use the terminology of generational curse, but that's what it is. It's medical, it's scientific, it's hardcore fact, but you can trace through generations in the very DNA and the cellular structure of your body certain stuff you're prone to just because of who you are born to. It's generational. The same thing that is true medically in the body is true in the mind and the spirit. You don't just inherit your tendency for heart attack from your mama and daddy. You inherit your tendency for how your heart feels from your mama and daddy. So the stuff becomes generational. And they said that oftentimes there is a spirit of rejection that we inherit just from even the moment of conception. Let me explain what I mean by that. And as they begin to explain it, I begin to understand it. Half of those who are listening to me right now, whether you're here in this sanctuary, watching me on television or video, or listening electronically, half of you were conceived, and when your birth imminence was known, you were met with the spirit of rejection. What do you mean, Pastor, the spirit of rejection? Half of you who are listening and watching me electronically right now, when your spirit entered into this physical realm, you were met with the spirit of rejection. Mama or daddy said, uh-oh, I can't afford this. Oh, why now? What are we going to do? And you may not think that it affects the fetus, but it does. That's why even science has shown that if a pregnant mother takes a child and put classical music up to the belly, it makes the child smarter. The child can hear in the womb. If they can hear the music, they can hear your words. And half of you right now who are listening to me, you were born under the spirit of rejection. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not, oh my goodness, I'm so delighted. I'm so delighted that you're here, my child. Half of you listening to me right now. Uh-oh. What are we going to do? What's going to happen now? And it boils down to, on the milder end, to simply you were unexpected, to the extreme end of do I abort you? Some of you, the spirit of abortion even ran deep while you were in the womb. And the question ran through mama and daddy's mind. Some of you, even daddy said, terminate you. And it's a spirit that gets into the very fetus. And so it opens the door to the demonic. And as you are in the womb, as you are dividing and your cells are multiplying, as your personality and spirit is taking shape, you're born and reared and formed under the spirit of rejection. And when we get here, we don't understand down the road why we have difficulty with intimacy issues. We have difficulty loving others because we came into the earth realm under the spirit of rejection.